What's up, everybody? Nonpon here, and we're making a tier list. It's finally time. I do not make tier lists very often. I will probably make one tier list a year just to show the timeline of how much things have changed. But ultimately, no tier list is good, and mine might be bad here. Everything is just my opinion, but I have been playing Snowbreak a lot. And hopefully this can give you guys an insight on what's good to use and what's just decent to use. My whole entire content has been to help new players and help beginners out. And hopefully this tier list can do that. Now, one thing I do want to bring up is I feel like every tier list I see based everything off neuron simulation, which is basically the only competitive mode that's in Snowbreak. Although I don't really think it matters too much since it's just a border frame and people are clearing literally in single-digit seconds. But I don't think that's exactly fair. So this tier list will actually cover not just neuron simulation, but all content in general. And I know Snowbreak's not really a difficult game. And, you could discard the fact that I'm placing characters in different tiers based off how well they perform in different content, because I know that the only content you can be gated from is really just how fast you can beat a boss. I don't think that's really fair, and I feel like tier lists are meant to really help out newer players, if anything, and then as you start to get your pieces together, you can kind of like formulate your own team and make your own opinion. You know what I mean? So that's why I'm not just going to base this tier list off just how fast you can, defeat a boss. I don't think that's going to help new players out, because that's the last thing new players would really care about starting out, right? So again, everything's just my opinion. And if you disagree with me, good. Tell me in the comments below and I'll get back to you. All right. So for S tier, this probably won't be too difficult. S tier, basically characters that work in all forms of content and objectively are still being used to this day. So the first character that always comes to my mind is Kaguya. And what's impressive about Kaguya is that not only was she the first ever limited character, but she's still used. She has not rusted one bit. Some limited characters have, but Kaguya is still used to this day. It's kind of crazy how much a defense shred can do for you. Kaguya will always fit that bill. Right behind Kaguya, I will put Moxer here, but Moxer's kind of like Kaguya, except a little bit more centered around ballistic damage, which is bullet damage. So won't really help you as much in the skill department, but will still help you out with ballistic damage. So that's also really good, since about 85% of characters in this game use bullet damage, and there's still a small amount of people or characters that use skill damage. And speaking of skill damage, the queen of skill damage, who doesn't really need to use Moxer that much, but she can, is Shirno. Shirno can also be used in all forms of content, as AoE, has good single target, just overall kinda a solid character all around. And then right after these three, we have the wives. I even got them like a bigger picture for this one. You have Life, Infinite Sight, and you have Fenny. Fenny also being a really good support, Life being very good with ballistic damage. So over here, we kind of have like a very good balance of broken characters, okay? You have Kaguya, you can defense shred anything. You have Moxer and Life, right, who are like really good with ballistic damage, and Fenny too. And you have Shirda, who's just really good with just skill damage by herself. So I think these 5 characters definitely deserve their spot at S tier. Now, one more character I was thinking about putting in S tier, but I'm not too sure. Not too sure yet. But we'll put her in S tier for now. But I have a feeling she might fall off eventually. And that's going to be Cyrus. Okay? I'm going to put Cyrus up here because Cyrus is a lot like Shirno, kind of like the diet Shirno. Her DPS is like in a different shape. Shirno is one that does like a big explosion, but Cyrus is one that kind of like does very sustainable DPS that then can skip some phases pretty easily with her ultimate. And there is one specific boss in the game that only she can really fight, and that's Pi. I can't really think of another character that's better suited besides her, so I feel like just because her alone can beat that boss really fast, not just for Neuron Simulation, but she's also good at Paradoxical Labyrinth. She's very solid, right? So I'm putting her at S for now. I do think she's S tier. I do. But I do think of all these characters, she might be the first one to go down. Might be. We'll see. Okay. So that's going to be it for S tier characters. So if you're starting out, you know, these are really good characters to invest into, and you probably already have Fenny for free. So, good starting roster. Definitely see if you can grab yourself these characters over here. Okay. Now, in A tier, one character I almost put in S tier, but didn't quite. I'm going to put Enya here. Now, Enya's kind of like Moxer in the sense that she's really good at supporting characters that do skill damage, but there's not too many characters in the game that use skill damage at the moment. Now, don't get me wrong, Shirno and Cyrus are really good with skill damage, but I don't feel like Enya would be a good pick for things like Paradoxical Labyrinth, or I don't think she would be a good pick if you're like starting out, right? So when it comes to like how applicable she is in content, don't get me wrong, she's really strong. But from a new player perspective of like, you know, how well can this character help you from like level 1 to 100? How well can they help you in Labyrinth? How well they can help you in Neuron Simulation? I don't feel like Enya can quite reach S tier yet, but if we do get even more skill-based characters, skill damage-based characters, then she'll probably be bumped up here. But I feel like Enya is like the perfect like gatekeeper, like the gatekeeper of A tier. Enya the gatekeeper of A. That's honestly what I think. So we have that. Now, what else do I put here? Katya. I'll put Katya here. Now, this probably gonna make people upset. So I think Katya is really good in the mileage of how much value you get from her. Right? So think of like Shirno. You get her out of the box, she's already really good. Katya, kind of the same thing. You could probably use her weapon or get a 4-star weapon. Katya is still really good. She's pretty good at all types of content. Labyrinth, Neuron Simulation. If you're a new player, she will guide you pretty well. She'll be a solid pick, right? But I think that's it. I feel like she is just a strong character. Nothing broken, right? But definitely like really above average. And the amount of mileage you get from her is outstanding. So you can't go wrong with Katya, especially if you choose to invest in just her 4-star weapon if that's what you want to do. So I do even recommend, like, of all characters that can probably like guide a new player from like low level to like higher end content, if you want to call it higher end content, I think Katya is like the best at that, because you just get her and she doesn't have to reload and she's just good, right? So I feel like if I had to like make a different tiers of just purely off like how well a beginner's player would use her, it could be pretty high up there. But for now, I'll put her at A tier. So what else are we going to put here? Let's see. I feel like Tess. Yeah, Tess should be here too. Tess should definitely be here. Now, Tess is a character that is kind of lopsided in what content she can do. I feel like she's a Neuron Simulation character. I feel like that is what she is. She is a speedrun character, and she is used in a good amount of teams when it comes to speedruns. Like, she is a staple. But I don't feel like you use her all that much outside of other content. You might use her a bit in Paradoxical Labyrinth because you get her ultimate back each time. But I don't feel like she's a good player, a good character for new players either. So I don't feel like I feel like she loses points on mileage that she can like perform for you as a new player to getting up to high-end content, right? So I feel like she's like really broken at Neuron Simulation and then kind of just trails off from there. Still really good though. I still think she's really, really good. Let's see. What other character can I put here? You know what? Same exact way with Xinxing. I'll put Xinxing here too. Kind of like the same thing with Tess. Neuron Simulation character, but also really good at mobbing as well. Not as good as Cyrus or Shirno. Almost respectable to Katya. The only thing that struggles with her is that you need her weapon. If you don't have her weapon, I mean, she's gonna go down low. So I don't think I can really put Xinxing in B tier. I don't think I can do that. Not yet. But kind of like how Cyrus is close to getting to A tier, I feel like Xinxing is close to getting to B tier. Does that make sense? I feel like that's where I would place her for sure. Speaking of which, another character, I think two characters right here. So actually, I'll put Yao. Put Yao here. Right? I'll put Yao here in the same for the same reason. Like she's been around for a year now. Still good at ballistic damage, but same thing with Xinxing. She needs weapons to start to get going, but still really good. Now, this is where I hurt people's feelings. I don't know where to put Fenny. Still too early to say. Because other Fenny, wife Fenny, has kind of buffed her up a lot. And I have not experimented enough with that. I don't know where to put Fenny. So we'll do a safe bet and we'll just put Fenny. We'll put Fenny right here for now. Right? Keep her right there. I don't really know where to put her. You guys play Fenny. You tell me where to put her. But to avoid all the comments about Fenny, I'm going to put her in A tier for now. I won't pretend to know what I don't know. Because it's really crazy that you have a character that was here since launch. And no one really used her that much. And then you get her new Fenny. And now it's like, oh my god, she's so good. That's really crazy. Right? That's kind of crazy. So, A tier for now. A tier for now. And the last character I'll put over here. The last character I'll put over here. I feel like... You know, I'll put Echo here. I'll put Echo here. That's what I'll do. I'll put Echo here. Echo kind of just gives you a solid buff and doesn't really mess with you. Her buff is okay at Neuron Simulation. The reason why I want to put her at A tier is because she basically makes any kind of Paradoxical Labyrinth like easy. And I know, again, you can clear any type of content with Paradoxical Labyrinth, but she also allows you to pick like the most aggressive buffs in the game to clear faster. Right, so if you're worried about like how fast you can clear Paradoxical Labyrinth, or you know, you want to get your dailies done or whatever, or get all the rewards, Echo is like a lawnmower. You know, she kind of like does your chores for you, gets everything done, you know, gives you a bunch of heals. I think she deserves to be an A. I do, especially if you get her weapon. There's no other healer that comes close to her, and I know healing isn't really used that much in this game. But when you do use healing, she won't disappoint you. And I feel like that's going to be the end of A tier. I feel like that's what I'll do. And yeah, Gatekeep's kind of like S tier. And then over here for Echo. I think this is pretty solid right here. Yeah. I feel like definitely like Xinxing and Yao should be like right next to each other because they both need their weapons. And again, Fenny, I don't freaking know. Okay. Now, this is the one that breaks my heart, right? Haru, one of my favorite characters in the game. but this isn't a tier list about how fun a character is to play. I can't really recommend her to new players. She'll clear content pretty fast. She's good against some bosses, but I feel like CSUN definitely did her pretty dirty. Kind of like what I mentioned about Cyrus and how there's one specific boss in the game that only she can fight. Haru could be higher because she would be really good against the boss Cyrus fights, right? But they gave that boss a bunch of kinetic resistance. So that means Haru just doesn't get anything out of it. It's just kind of crazy. I feel like Haru is that character that we kept waiting for a good support for her, but it just never kind of happened. So unfortunately, I'm gonna have to put her at B tier for now. Still my favorite character to play for sure. But you know, facts are facts. After a year, she is definitely took a couple steps down here. Now, another character over here, I will put Freesia Hush here. I'm not a fritter scientist, and I know technically Freesia's damage is like through the roof when it comes to bossing, but there's never going to be a point in time where Freesia can actually use all the damage she can output, because either one, by the time she reaches her maximum like peak of damage, the boss is already dead, or two, the boss is going to iframe and she's going to waste DPS that way. So I feel like both Haru and Freesia kind of like have the same struggles of just needing those other support characters to truly make their playstyle shine. I mean, Hush, you know, I'll probably put Hush a little bit above Haru actually, because at least Hush can use Tess and other characters, right? Can at least use Tess and other characters. But these two characters, I feel like just need a little bit more support from their cast in order to actually truly shine. That's what I think. What else? Well, I will probably put Life and Marion here as well. I'll probably do that. Life can be a good support and a decent DPS. Marion, kind of like Fenny. I don't really know, but I know sometimes, like, it's kind of weird, man. Like, Fenny's like that neighbor that you meet once a month, you know, they live right next to you, but you never really talk to them, and then out of nowhere they show up and they're like, hey, I can do really good against this boss this 1 week. I'm like, that's crazy. How'd you do that? Right? I'll probably put Marion above Life, because Life still has not found much mileage outside of holding one broken submachine gun. Yeah, I'll probably do that. Speaking of submachine gun, Cherno can use that same submachine gun and run the Navigator Squad, so she can debuff a target by slowing them down and provide more buffs with Outlaid Truth. Outlaid Truth is really good with these two characters, so decent supports. On top of that, speaking of supports, put Acacia here as well, because she can also run Navigator and use Prismatic Igniter. That's also pretty decent. Yeah, I think I'll do that. Another support. Not exactly B tier though. Not exactly B tier. No, Freesia can do that. Freesia can do that. Freesia has some pretty good fire bullets, and I'll lastly for B tier, I'll put Fenny here. And the reason for that is because Cherno again can use Ally Truth. Acacia has good debuffs. She can be really good for new players. Freesia Hush has a pretty okay support. And Fenny, I mean, look, man, if you have the new Fenny, your 4-star Fenny's probably doing well too. She's always had like a lot of attack, but I'll probably put her like right there for now. Right. Speaking of which, actually, I think I might want to swap over. No, I'll keep Life right there because of Kaya. Okay. Anyway, then we get down to the C tier. C tier. I'll probably put Shinshin here because she can actually buff your skill damage, which is okay, but not as much as Enya here. Cyrus can buff your damage a bit, which is a pretty decent support in some content. I can't put Enya in C tier right now. I can't do that. I feel like Yao could be up here too, actually. Yao can be C tier. For newer players, I feel like Yao is a good solid pick if you need some healing. Yeah, I think that's fine. Oh, you know what I forgot? I forgot to put Marion in B tier, actually. Marion's actually pretty nutty. 4-star Marion's actually pretty nutty. I forgot about that. Like, both 4-star Finny and 4-star Marion actually do a lot of DPS just for being 4 stars. It's kind of crazy. Yeah. These two are actually pretty decent to invest into if you want to. So we have the C tiers right here. Moxer. Yeah, we'll put Moxer in C. We'll put Moxer in C. We can do that. Probably have to add like another row here. Add row below. There we go. We'll put like an E tier here. Oop. Yeah. Okay. So after that, for D tier, I feel like it's just everyone but Haru, honestly. Enya has okay buffs, not as good as Freesia, but still okay. Also, she has some really funny stuff in Paradoxical Labyrinth that we use here as a DPS. Nita apparently is getting a rework. Apparently Nita's getting changed. So we'll see how that changes. Right now, I'll put her in D tier. You know, plays like Crash Bandicoot, spins around the circle and hurts people. Not bad. Life, I'll put right here too. Can still use Navigator Squad, but honestly, the only thing she really has going for her besides that is the fact that she can hold LA Truth. I guess because she can hold LA Truth, which is a broken submachine gun, I have to put her like right here at least. Right? At least Life can help with Ice Team. Shirno can with like Navigator. Life just holds the submachine gun, I guess. I guess she can also inflict Navigator too if they can be paralyzed. So it can still be used. We'll put it right there. And then Haru has been the biggest meme ever. 4-star Haru, not very bueno. Not good. Has never been good. Still fun to play. Has some really nice sound effects with her arm gun, but it has just been a novelty at this point. So ultimately, I think this will be my tier list. With not just Neuron Simulation, but with all content. I think that's what I'll do. Yeah. So we did it. Cool. Awesome. And again, this is just my opinion. I don't make tier list videos very often, but since I've been playing Snowbreak a lot for the past year now, these are my final thoughts. You're free to ignore those thoughts. But if you're going to ignore my thoughts, at least put a comment down below and tell me why I'm wrong, so we can talk about it. And maybe after I see how much Finny has changed and Nita, we'll see if I do an update to this, but I don't really want to make a tier list like every month or something, right? But hopefully this should be a good overview for people for a while, and then maybe we'll just add more to it as time goes on. We'll have to see. Anyway, that's gonna do it for this video, guys. I appreciate you all. I stream on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, 6 p.m. Eastern Time at Twitch. Would love to have you. And until then, take care.